One, two, one, two.
Winemaker show. Nice hat.
Thanks. All right, so let's go. It's not early in the morning, but it feels early in the morning today. Thank you very much, Arthur, for being with me this morning and for welcoming us at Runaway Cow. So the story behind that is that last week we did our first Chinese wine tasting, and we came across each other. Then we met some other people, and they were like, "You should come to Runaway Cow next week, this weekend actually." And we're like, "Of course, let's go for it." And well, I wasn't expecting at all a place like that, such beautiful place, such a view on the vines, such a region around that. So thank you very much for welcoming us. We'll discuss about all that in this podcast. But first, can you start by introducing yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Antoine. And it's a pleasure to have you guys here this weekend. My name is Arthur. I'm the second generation of a winery owner at Runaway Cow, a project that was started by my father. Well, started together. And we started the project. We first imagined the project in 2011. The idea of having a winery, but also combining tourism and lifestyle concepts into the winery. So then in 2013, I was studying in the States, engineering actually, not related to winemaking. Yeah, but I decided to just take a shot. I was at UCLA, and then the UC system had I can take classes from any UC schools. Then I found out that UC Davis is a great winemaking program, so I just signed up for a class and went to Dijon and studied a little bit of winemaking, and that's how I met Pascal Durand, which is now actually one of our partners at Runaway Cow, and that's how we got into the industry. So in 2013, we first came to Yantai, Penglai, fell in love, with the region, and then we just thought like this was the right place to do the project. And then 12 years go by, and now here we are. Yeah.
So for you, it was like starting to study wine. It was basically pure coincidence. It was
yeah, I would say pure coincidence, fate. I got lucky, to be honest. I would definitely not call myself a very professional wine person. To be honest, I took an introductory winemaking course, and we did more drinking than winemaking, right?
Yeah, but you still got it from UC Davis. You still went to Dijon.
Yes. I know some winemaking stuff, but I'm on a winemaker show. I'm sure of the people that you interview, I am the bottom of the qualified pile. Yeah.
So how did it start here? So you came, you told me.
Yeah, actually, in 2013. So we've actually visited all the regions before we wanted to start the project. We've been to Ningxia, Xinjiang, Yunnan, and at the end of the day, we decided that we liked Yantai the most for various reasons. First of all, Yantai is actually the only coastal winemaking region in China. And then even very early on, we saw a great potential for white wine, especially pairing with local cuisine. And by local, I mean like food ingredients. You get a lot of great seafood here, white wine. And then in terms of the tourism aspect, Yantai is also a very accessible city, the region. Not just for consumers in China, but also all over Southeast Asia. So everything considered, we really liked the region. Yeah.
There was nothing here when you came, like
there was
no vineyards, no place.
Actually, so there were some vineyards here when I first came, but not this particular valley. But the city does have a little bit of winemaking history. But yes, when we first came to this valley, it was raw, it was barren. We started everything from scratch. Took a picture and just drew a rendering on the foot of the mountain and how this region was going to be. But I think the government also did a wonderful job supporting the development, including paving new roads, cleaning up the village and everything like that. When we first came, there was the main road that you guys come in from didn't exist. We had to come through the village, and there are no roads here. There's nothing here. Yeah.
It's a very impressive place for that. How did you so you were the one to start the collaboration with Pascal?
I'd say I met him.
Yeah, you met him first.
Met him first. Yeah, but and it was quite interesting. I think just like you guys, I met Pascal in 2013, and I just decided to invite him, and he actually came. By the end of 2013, he flew into Hong Kong and met my father and our partner in Hong Kong, and had a conversation. And I guess everybody was sort of on the same frequency. We had similar visions. We liked what each other was about. So I think it was a very easy collaboration. We just decided to work together, even though we hadn't known each other for long back then. Yeah, but now it's turned into a 12-year friendship. Yeah,
yeah. It's an amazing experience for him and for you as well. Like, it's so fun to have this guy. I wasn't expecting seeing a French guy doing wine here.
I can only speak for myself. I mean, it's been an amazing experience for me. That's definitely for sure, and for our family. Because I think in the wine world, we're a very, very young family. I mean, in China, you say you've done something for 12, 15 years. Yeah, we're relatively rooted in the industry, but we go to events in Dijon and Burgundy, and I'm meeting these other wine families, and people are shaking my hand. They're like, "Hey, I'm 12th generation. I'm 14th generation." I'm going around. I'm like, I'm second generation. Second generation. Nice to meet you. But there's definitely so much to learn still in the industry. The culture, the techniques. But we're very lucky to have Pascal, or someone like Pascal, as a partner. I think really helped us in a relatively short period of time to establish, I think, what we have today. Yeah.
So obviously you're doing wine here. This is the main reason why we're here. How do you do to like, who are your clients, and what is the vision that you have relative to sales and commerce? How do you see like, I don't really. So Runaway Cow, I never heard of it when I was in France or in Europe. So I guess that your market is more here in China. How do you sell? What is your vision about that?
We wanted to start in China for the market. I think that it's difficult for Chinese wines to, say, go into the European market and et cetera, because it's already a very mature and competitive market. And I think Chinese wines are up and coming, but there's still a lot of room for the product to sort of mature even more and settle down. But I would say our main demographic right now are Chinese clients, and including a lot of Southeast Asian, Hong Kong, Macau, etc. I think they are wine drinkers that are curious enough to want to try wines from different regions. Not and the growing demographic are, I think, Chinese consumers 30 plus. They're people are moving off of hard liquor, so less whiskey, less baijiu, more into wine. I think it's maybe a sign of maturity or a change of taste, but definitely a lot of relatively new wine drinkers. So for us, a trend for white wine is growing, and I think it's because it's an easier entry to wine, especially when we're making wines that are fruity and fresh, versus an old Bordeaux or old Burgundy. So I think that the demographic and the trend of sort of fresh or fruity white wines going up sort of matches, but every 5 to 10 years it's going to change again. But this is what we're seeing right now, right? Yeah.
You had this vision of a place that does wine and hospitality from the beginning?
Yeah. So my father, actually he went to Berkeley, so we're all UC system, and he was in Berkeley in the 70s, and he saw how Napa Valley developed right over the years from nothing to now a very famous region. And then I was also in California, so we also frequently went to Napa. And I think that for us, because we're not winemakers in the beginning, we were attracted into the industry by the lifestyle. So when we built this winery, we had a clear idea that we wanted to present not just wine, but I think everything about wine, the culture, the lifestyle. It's what attracted us into wine, and it's something that we wanted to bring to our clients and customers. So yes, from the beginning, we designed and having in mind wine plus tourism plus hospitality, food and beverage, and everything. Yeah,
because this place where we are is absolutely like incredible. It's I think it's 40 rooms, something like
yeah, 47,
47.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, and we're the only property that I think in China was with hotel plus winery in the same place. It was definitely, and we've traveled a lot, and we tried to learn from the other regions, and we designed it to our concept, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, because you for studying you went to Burgundy, and and it's pretty fun because in Burgundy you do wines in very small places. Sometimes you have a lot of trouble finding the place. You can absolutely not sleep there, or it's very rare if you can sleep there. And on the other side, you have this beautiful place, a lot of rooms, a lot of facilities, capabilities to have people. So it's a big switch from Burgundy.
This is considered a small facility in China. I think you're gonna interview a lot of wineries that are producing millions of bottles, and we try to do we try to keep it at a size of a boutique winery where we're currently producing 40,000, and we're going to expand a little bit more, but we're going to keep it around 80,000 in the final amount, just to, I think, limit our production to a smaller quantity. But Burgundy is different because I think wine in Burgundy has already become ingrained into the DNA of the place, and then there's a history of it. So these small corners and cellars, incredible places. If you can visit, a lot of times you can't even go in. But no, we wanted to we wanted to learn from Burgundy, but we can't be Burgundy. Even the wines that we make obviously have to be Chinese wines, Chinese style. We can learn from these regions. They have great techniques and attitudes towards the culture. That's what we need to learn about. But the idea is, after taking all those things, how do we make it our own? And what makes these Penglai wines, what's the Penglai characteristic? And even in terms of the lifestyle, when we're making wine, we're also thinking about the food on the table. How does Chinese wine pair with Chinese food versus a traditional Burgundian? If you look at different regions, Burgundy wine pairs great with Burgundy food and cheese, and Bordeaux wine pairs great with Bordeaux food and cheese. But even if you cross a little bit, sometimes it doesn't work that well. So, a region on the other side of the globe is even more so, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree with what you said. Yesterday I was talking about the notion of terroir. And for me, this is where you recognize the quality of a wine. It's like terroir is not just about the soil or just like the expression of something. It's of course the soil, the climate, the landscape, and the people around it. And for me, this makes the difference between good wines and excellent wines. Is, do you reflect the terroir where it's done? And we've tasted some other Chinese wines that were like Bordeaux blend or that type of things, which is amazing and well done technically speaking. But what's good when we came to taste Runaway Cow is that you have this taste of the place, like winemaking is the expression of this specific land, and for me this is what makes amazing wines. So that's a vision that we share on this.
Definitely, and thank you guys for the compliment and being so understanding. Well, we're a young winery, so I know there's a lot of room to grow, but definitely these years were even from talking about varieties and rootstock, we stopped focusing so much on the particular variety of the wine, but instead focusing on the style of it. So let's say there's our Whisper and a Runaway Cow and the Blanc de Noir. For the Whisper, I always talk more about the style of wine that it is. It's a fresh, fruity, mineral, pleasant, easy drinking wine. And we focus less on the varieties because we're experimenting with these new, less well-known, resistant varieties that are more naturally, I think, resilient against different diseases and rot, etc., which helps us to use less products in the vineyards, less chemicals, less pesticides, herbicides. But at the same time, how do we find these new varieties that still, like you said, able to capture the essence of the terroir, or the characteristics of the terroir, the climat of the place? And this is going to be a process. I'm not saying we have it all figured out, but we're continuing to discover, explore, experiment. But then that's why I'm saying we're now. I would focus on the style of the wine instead of a particular variety. But when people ask, I tell them it's a blend of 5 varieties, and you probably haven't heard of 3 of them, especially for Chinese consumers. They're just used to Chardonnays and Sauvignon Blancs. Yeah.
So you've started talking about the wine. Just before that, can you describe a bit the climate that you have here in Yantai?
Sure. Yantai is like I mentioned at the very beginning, it's the only coastal region in China. So I would say it's relatively temperate compared to some of the more continental regions. Our winters are less harsh, so we don't need to bury our vines. In fact, we often see snow in the winter, and it snows quite heavily, which protects the vines and keeps them moist. But on the other side of the coin, it rains. So I would say that we're a relatively rainy region compared to the other regions in China where they're drier. So the fruits may ripe sort of quicker or have much higher sugar levels. For us, it's about keeping the acidity, I think, delicate. That's a balance. The rain is definitely our challenge, and we are finding ways to cope with it, and including why we're making a lot more white wines, because we harvest earlier, just before the rain season and whatnot. Yeah. But even with the rain, this year we just harvested Gamay yesterday, and the sugar levels were great. Yeah.
Okay, so rainy season. So it means that the main challenge that you may have in winemaking.
For us is the rot. Yeah, the rot and the rain. Yeah. So it's a challenge for our vineyard manager. Yeah, but he's doing a great job. Yeah.
And for the soil, how is it?
So we see mostly sandy soil on the top, but when you go down a little bit, it's granite. So lots of granite, which gives this clear character of the minerality. So
for the white,
the white has got this nice minerality, and in the end, it even has a sort of salty or savoriness to it. Which we also think probably influenced by the ocean, sea breeze. Yeah. And in fact, in early 2019, our first vintage of Chardonnay, we actually sent it to Burgundy. We entered into a Chardonnay du Monde, which is a Chardonnay blind tasting, and that Chardonnay actually got an award. And what was interesting was that I remember receiving the notes from the tastings in Burgundy, and someone actually, and it's a blind tasting, so they didn't know where the Chardonnay was from, but they said they tasted sea salt. So this region must not be far away from the ocean. On the blind tasting note,
It's amazing.
It's these guys are so good.
Yeah. so good at
Yeah.
You know, for me, tasting wine is always a humble moment, because like you may guess a few things inside your glass, but you never really know what's behind that, all the work, where it really comes from, and you can have like different views on the same wine at different times. So it's always amazing to blind taste.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So this is about the place, the weather, the soil. You started talking about the wine. So you do Whisper, which is the white wine.
Yeah. So we have 3 series. The entry level is Whisper, which is definitely more pleasant, easy drinking. We have our Runaway Cow series, where we're starting to use a little more barrels. We had just recently started with the barrels because when we planted in 2015, so early on our vines were still a bit young.
So actually, it's the wines that we drink are kind of one of the first vintage.
Yeah, you can interpret like that, including the Gamay that we had, which we made into a Blanc Noir, but it was the second year of fruit set, maybe third year, something like that. So once we get a little bit more vintage in the vines, we're using a little more barrel. So I would say our Runaway Cow series, our Blanc Noir series will be a little more, will be rounder, a little more complex. And then on the top line we have Mulan, which we only do on very, very good vintages. So far we've only had one Mulan in 2019. And it was a really good year for the reds here. So the Mulan 1 is the name of the wine.
Okay.
And we are currently observing, maybe perhaps we might have a Mulan 1 in 23, but we're still deciding. Yeah.
Okay, but so for that, it means that you actually have red plants.
Yeah.
You do the harvest, you take the juice out of it, and you just wait and evaluate afterwards.
Yeah, sometimes we do that. Yeah, we have a couple of reds sitting, and we're deciding whether or not it's worthy to be Mulan, or if not, we'll just roll it out as Runaway Cow.
Okay.
Yeah.
A bit earlier, you talked about experimenting in the vineyard. For me, this is super interesting. But the point is, usually when you plant grapes, you tend to say that you plant them for your children or for your grandchildren. It will take so much time for them to have deep roots and to grow and make really good wines. How do you manage this very long-term project with like shorter term or shorter expectations? For me, it's always good to see. I have a story. I think you're the second earliest estate I've visited in my life. The first one was actually in Belgium, and it was also super interesting because I think when I visited them, they were not even selling wines yet. They were doing some wines, but more like for friends and family, and they had the bottles, but not ready for commerce. You are a bit more advanced, but how do you manage this shorter term things with very long term expectations?
I think first of all, we do recognize and we have to admit that it's a long term endeavor. What you said about planting for the next generation. I mean, my father's obviously doing it for us, but even for me, I think by the time this property really excels would be my grandchildren or great grandchildren. So I think it's important to recognize that we're not trying to achieve any sort of greatness in the short term, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to make as many right decisions along the way to build a foundation for Runaway Cow to be a 100-year-old, 200-year-old winery in the future. So we're doing a lot of the homework, but I think that you have to recognize that it is a long-term endeavor, and a lot of the things that we're doing, I think we may not be here around to see the results. Yeah,
it's always for me. I always find it amazing when I'm in the vineyards. This continuity of time, around it. It's a bit philosophical to say it like that, but it's just, you do things and you only wish to give it in a better shape to the next generation so that they can continue it.
Yeah, there's definitely this element of it, and I think my father and even Pascal, they wanted to do it to leave a bit of a legacy, something in their name, something that they've created and left behind. I think from a personal perspective, maybe this is a more realistic motivation. Yeah.
Do you have so you have a bit more than 40 rooms here? What is the profile of people coming?
A lot of mid 30s friends and groups. We also see a lot of team building, from companies, events, from
Mostly
luxury
Chinese
brands.
or?
It was a good mix.
Okay.
Chinese, Southeast Asian, even European. For instance, we've actually hosted a lot of luxury brands here as well. Ferrari obviously was our first one. They booked out the entire winery for a month to debut the Portofino. Their Asia Pacific debut of the car was at the winery, and for 1 month they invited the sort of car media guys, distributors, VIP clients. And then afterwards, we've had we're fortunate enough to work with a lot of other brands, Chopard, Roger Dubuis, Range Rover, Porsche, etc., etc. So a lot of events we do as well, because it's sort of the wine lifestyle sort of seamlessly works with these luxury brands as well. Yeah, and then other than that, you get your team buildings, your company, a lot of companies around here, and then different group events. Yeah. So I would say on an individual traveler side, lots of couples, I think, coming for a weekend. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
And it's really like the winery and Runaway Cow as a whole is really how can I say, like engraved in the tourism attractivity of the region. Are you like, how do you, because so my question, sorry, it's a bit complicated for me to formulate this question, but the question I had is basically when we used to travel in France, it's pretty established. Like there is tourism office, you have the list of vineyards to visit, you have a road with the vineyards that are clearly indicated along the way. You can rent a bike, whatever. How do you work on that here? Because when you create things from scratch, I guess it's something you have to work on, maybe all together, maybe with government also as well. How do you develop this?
It's a difficult question, and it's a complicated answer. First of all, you're absolutely right. I think in France, the entire wine tourism industry, everything is very well thought out and developed. And even government officials here, they travel to Burgundy and Bordeaux to learn, to take notes. And when you say how do we develop this, I can only say we do it slowly, step by step. But you're right. When we started from scratch, one of our difficulties was to market this region as a wine sort of destination, which is not, I have to admit, it's not very well known in the mass public. But I would say these couple of years, we've gotten our reputation up, definitely mostly by word of mouth. So there are these specific wine-loving demographics that when you dive into it, you realize it's not that big of a group of people. And these wine tourism, guys, they talk to each other and spread the word. So I would say in a relatively short amount of time, we're known in, I would say we're known in a lot of wine circles. I think the name is known. But if you go into a mass public and just ask a random person, a tourist destination, they probably haven't heard of us. Yeah. So yeah. Hopefully. Yeah.
Shit, I forgot the question I had, but it was a very good one. Sorry.
It's all right. We can always circle back.
Yeah. Yes, this was the question. On the other way around, when you travel, you obviously say that you do wine here. What is the reaction of people when you say that you do wine in Yantai in China? You talked about traveling to Burgundy, to France. I guess you still go back to the US and Napa sometimes. What is the reaction of people? Are they like, what? Chinese wines actually exist? Do they know the place? Are they surprised? Like, how do they feel?
It's the different types of people that we meet, but I think mainly whenever I meet someone in the industry, the reaction is always very respectful. I think that between wine people, I think they recognize how difficult it is to start from scratch. So I would say a lot of them are very encouraging, respectful, and shows also a lot of curiosity. So lots of questions. Yeah.
You told a bit earlier that Whisper won some award in a blind tasting that you had. I think one of the things that marked me when we were...
I'm going to grab a water if that's okay.
Yeah, no worries. When we were at the tasting last week in Shanghai, I think it was your father who told us that this wine was served at the birthday of a king.
King Charles.
Of King Charles. Wow.
Yeah. So
how did this happen?
So every year they have I think it's like the King's Dinner in Shanghai. I'm sure they have it in different cities, major cities.
I think there is one in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Actually, as well.
Yeah. So we'd have to give credit to YNAP. Obviously, they were the ones that were helping select the wine list for King's Dinner. But I guess also they liked the Whisper and the rosé. Yeah, that's all I can say.
So it was like just selected for the King's Dinner. That's often. Did you go there?
My brother did.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're a family of 5, 3 boys, and sometimes we spread out and we all help out with the industry and the business.
Do you all work at the winery, or it's mostly, or it's a bit divided?
It's a bit divided. I think I have my job is I handle more of the technical stuff, the winemaking, the growing, the production. And well, early on, I helped with the branding and that part. But now we're trying to. My youngest brother just came back, so he's probably gonna do more of the branding because he has a younger sort of perspective. Might do a better job than me. Yeah, and then so we between the 3 of us, we divide up our time to all help out with the family business a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, but for you, the winery is the main focus, or you also work in different areas of the family?
For about a decade, it was my main focus. Okay. Between 2013 to 2023. I'm now actually now I have my own venture outside of the family.
Okay.
But the winery is a continued effort for me. Yeah. But now it's because I think that the the wine industry has its own tempo. And then a lot of things, I think you still need time to build upon it. But we're lucky enough that our wine team is relatively, I would say, matured now, which gives me a little more room to do something else on the side. Yeah. So I'm doing multiple projects right now, but this is one of my continued efforts. Yeah.
And the other projects are linked to wine lifestyle?
No, technology. I'm working for AI software company.
Okay.
Developing technologies and autonomous driving. We're doing an AI algorithm that helps. Essentially, we do the brain of the the
car.
The self-driving car. Yeah.
Okay, it's so fun because you must see big differences between that and winemaking. You know, like you have long term.
It's two extreme opposites in terms of tempo. I think the tech industry is very fast.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're even rolling, beyond your own capabilities. But wine is the opposite. You have to take time, step back, and go slow down. Force yourself to slow down. Yeah.
But it's a good equilibrium then in life because you're.
So I go fast, slow.
When you're frustrated about one, you can transition to the other. So it's a bit more cool. Do you use like one of the things that strikes me in the wine industry is that it's a pretty low tech industry. I mean that we have some technology in winemaking, for example, knowing specifically the temperature of the barrel or that type of things. But it's really like standard technology, information technology. You just know about something. It's gonna rain, or this is the temperature, the exact temperature or the exact acidity of the juice. But we don't have that much technology in prediction or in action. What I mean by, like, you talked about autonomous driving. One of the things autonomous driving is that basically takes the information, but it does something out of this information and makes things. In winemaking, my vision so far is that technology doesn't do anything. It just gives you the information, and then you as a winemaker act on it. Do you see it differently? How did you did you try to incorporate more technology in the vineyard?
In the vineyards, yes. So in the vineyards, definitely incorporating more technology to help with, say, let's say vineyard management. You can have autonomous tractors going into the field to do the jobs. In that sense, yes.
You have some?
We're actually working with some companies to develop one right now, and I think soon, because it's a problem that we have to deal with. The villagers or labor force getting older and older, and the younger people are not really coming back to. They're mostly staying in cities. So I think in 5 to 10 years' time, it's going to be a real problem finding manual labor for the vineyard. So a lot of the things we are switching to autonomous, or even before autonomous, we have maybe like one guy can remote control, 2-3 tractors, something like that. So technology, I think, in the vineyards, definitely. Winemaking is a little more difficult. I think winemaking, to me, it's categorized as industrial, but I think it's really more art. It's a little bit like cooking, like cuisine. In China, they have all these. They have these cooking robots. They sell the robots and they sell the ingredients. It's like you said, all the information is there. You know what ingredients to put. You know how many times, but a fried rice. Let's say a fried rice made by a robot versus fried rice made by a Michelin chef is just different. So how do you qualify or quantify the difference? Sometimes it's hard. I think that's what makes wine special. Right? I think it's the personal touch or the sort of art element of it, and that's what makes food special too, right? Because food is, like you said, is low tech, but chefs are not out of jobs, right? Obviously, there are times and places for, like I said, cooking robots. They call it the stir fry machines, like AI stir fry machines. Literally, they sell the prepackaged. Let's say like you want the green pepper beef. They sell a packaged fresh ingredients, green pepper, beef, salt, whatever, and then you just throw it all in, and you add and then the machine makes it. But it just doesn't taste the same as a really good chef doing it behind the stove, right? So I think that's the same thing with wine.
So it's great. Winemaker won't be out of job too soon.
I don't think so. I don't think so. It's like artists. Artists are not gonna run out of jobs. Wine is sometimes more culture than product, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I really believe that. Yesterday I was also talking about the history of wine, and like the first traces that you have of wine date from 7th 1,000 years before Christ. So basically, it's been 10,000 years that the humanity is doing wines, drinking wines.
Right.
And for me, it reflects way more than just a product. It reflects, as you said, culture, humanity, sharing things.
Yeah.
For me, it's deeply rooted in what.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, alcohol is culture. Yeah.
But for China, so actually, I had this discussion recently about the type of wine, and maybe you can give me more first-hand knowledge about that. But the guy I was talking with about that, he was saying that Chinese are actually pretty accustomed to wine because their palate has been trained by tea. Like he told me that you drink a lot of tea in China, and you have very good tea, and so your palate is really trained for wine afterward.
I wouldn't say it's trained. I wouldn't say it's trained for wine, but I would say that it's easy. In some ways, it's easy to introduce the concept of wine because a lot of the elements of wine drinking and tasting and growing is similar to tea. In tea, you also talk about terroir. Different climates reflect on different qualities of tea. And then the tasting elements, you also have, the similar flavors, the aromas, right? The flowers, the fruits, the finish in the mouth. But there's still some differences. But I can only say that the framework sort of works. Yeah.
So it helps being like in the same framework, in the same state of mind.
You can easily explain, like people can understand, tannins, for instance, and whatnot, because you have that in tea as well. You can explain food pairing because you have that in tea as well. So the sort of overall framework and logic, I think, works. Yeah.
This morning we were preparing a little bit the interview while just discussing on WeChat about time, places, and what we're gonna talk about. One of the things was talking about the future of Runaway Cow. What can I wish you for the future of Runaway Cow? Obviously, continuing making good wines, but what are the specifics around that? Do you have projects? Do you have what's next?
I think at this stage, what we're trying to do is continue to make good wines. I think that's a big thing for us. I think there is a lot of room for improvement for winemaking, and I think more time in the vineyards and more time for us to age some of the wines, we're going to see more exciting results. Even now, I think each vintage is better than the previous. If you taste the 24 Whisper, it's better than the 23. The 23 is better than the 22. And if I were to say one thing, I wish for this trend to continue. I wish that every vintage we make, we feel like, wow, it's even better than the last vintage. Because I think, obviously, there's the tourism and lifestyle aspect of the brand, but everything is still centered around wine. Right? So we have to be the most serious about winemaking, about growing. We're continuing to find, varieties that are more suitable, that are more resilient, that can deliver, what we want. So I would say the focus has to be on wine. Yeah, if you ask me.
It's for me, it's super exciting to be at this point because what I really feel is that it's kind of an inflection point when it starts. As you said, it's better every year, but then you pass a threshold at which it starts to be really, really interesting to be here and to see this. You know what I mean? Like it's really
this is so definitely an inflection point, and also like a 10-year mark of the property. I think every 10 years is you're gonna see a company growing or shrinking, but we're at a place where we're forced to reevaluate, some of our ideas and strategies and what to do in the future. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Arthur, for all that. Do we have topics that you absolutely wanted to talk about and that I missed in this interview?
No, No, not today. I'm a little bit hungover still, so
Yeah,
I'm glad I'm able to make it through this interview. Yeah.
Yeah, we had nice times together. So this interview sometimes takes a bit more time to reach the
You
end.
should have interviewed me yesterday
Yesterday.
before drinking. Yes.
Next time we'll do that. Thank you very much, Arthur. Honestly, I absolutely, of course, love the place and the wines, but most importantly, I, as you said, it's like every year is getting better than the one before, and I really wish to see that in 10 years, in 20 years, because uh, you know, if we do this interview again in 20 years, I think it's gonna be amazing. You know what I mean? Like
We're gonna both be 20 years older. That's for sure.
that's for sure. We'll keep the hat.
Yeah, we'll keep the hat.
So,
Yeah.
so that you don't see
I have your hat then.
you don't see the state of the airline, but definitely we will be a bit older. No, thank you very much for that, and thank you for sharing with the audience this journey.
No, thank you for bringing this platform to us. Sometimes you guys are the storytellers, right? So I appreciate you guys coming out here and interviewing us and helping us reach a wider audience. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Obviously, if you guys like the interview, if you want to come to Runaway Cow, it's possible. You have a website.
Yeah, a website.
Yeah.
You can book through, I think we're on booking.com.
Okay.
Yeah, C-Trip, 小程序 for like WeChat users. Just search Runaway Cow. Yeah.
Okay, I will put a few links in the description of the podcast, so just feel free to reach out and try to come to this place. Honestly, I always have the same story in France. Sorry for people if it's a bit redundant on that, but one of the stories is that when I created this podcast, I didn't thought I would go to some places. And for example, in France, so there are big winemaking regions, but that are big regions anyway. Like when you go to Dijon, when you go to Bordeaux or whatever, it's big cities. You like if you're French, you probably go there at least once because it's just a big city. But doing this podcast, I've also been to places that I never thought I would go. Like for example,
here. Yeah.
In France, for example, Tavel, but for example here. And you know, like if 5 years ago someone told me you will have a podcast about wine and you will actually go to Yantai in China to see it, I wouldn't have believed that. And so what I want to say by that is that Yantai is actually very accessible. Like I think it's 1 hour and 30 minutes,
Yeah.
2 hours from Shanghai.
Yeah. 1 hour, 1.5 hour flight from Shanghai, 1 hour flight from Beijing, even closer. Yeah.
So
And then we're 15 minutes away from the airport, so
and
super close. Yeah.
the ride from the airport is super fast. So what I want to say is that if you plan to come to China, I don't think that Yantai is in the touristic guides that we usually have, but actually it's very interesting to come to see a winemaking regions and to just take this flight, and the place is amazing. So anyway, you will have a great time. So I will put all the links in the description, but just to say, try to come to Yantai and to
welcome to anyone who wants to come, I guess. Yeah.
I have 3 last questions that are always the same in this podcast.
Sure.
The first one is, do you have a book recommendation?
Oh, is a tough one. Non-wine related is okay.
If it's wine related, it's better, but if it's non-wine, go for it.
A lot of wine books are kind of dry. I think I'm gonna go non-wine. I think that the most interesting book I've recently read, I might be late to the party, is I like science fiction a lot. There's a Chinese author, Liu Cixin, wrote a 3-body problem. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a Chinese, pretty hardcore science fiction writer. I think it's one of the more interesting books that I've read recently. So 3-body problem. You can go check it out sometime.
Yeah, definitely. I will try to find it.
Yeah.
Then what is a recent tasting that you absolutely loved, or something you want to share around that?
This one is very difficult. A lot of the last trip, my most recent trip to Burgundy, I was fortunate enough because Pascal was there to take me around. We were fortunate enough to taste some Romanée Conti, and I still think that every time when you go back to Beaune and Dijon, you get reminded why it is the top region. Even when we're going around, not just Conti, we also visited Bizot. We had there was Echezot and certain different fields, and I still think that the levels are much higher in Burgundy. So it keeps us humble as a new wine region, but I think it's important to always go back and taste the different regions, especially the top regions. I would say that within this year, obviously, those two tastings were the most impressionable for me. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Must have been a crazy experience. And last question, who is the next person I should interview?
So I was saying the easiest recommendation is the closest guy. So our neighbor Longdai by Lafitte. I think Charles would be a good person to talk to. And I think that the guy who introduced us, David, I think David is a must interview. In terms of maybe he's not talking about winemaking, but in terms of I think insight into the entire industry, he's the one that brought all of these wineries together, and they're doing an incredible job. So I would recommend these two.
Count on us. Thank you for these recommendations. We'll definitely interview Charles and David. I think that David will have the opportunity to do it today or tomorrow. And Charles, I don't know.
Should do David first.
We'll find him.
Do him in the future.
We will find him. He's not far. Thank you very much, Arthur, for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
It was really a pleasure to have you on the podcast. If you like this interview, please share it to at least 2 persons. We need to discover Chinese wines and also to come to Yantai to taste them. If you have the opportunity to find some Runaway Cow wines, please try them. I don't know if you're that much in the US or in Europe.
Not yet. We're going to be later on. Yeah.
All right. So stay tuned. And if you have the opportunity to find some bottles of Runaway Cow, you will definitely enjoy them. Arthur, thanks again. And
thank you, Antoine. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys, and thank you.